Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. Okay, today's video is going to be a little different. For those of you who've been on my channel for a while, you know that I did a video about the debunking of everything that Meghan said in the Oprah interview. This video is going to be a debunking of everything that Meghan said in I think it's called the CUT magazine. We're going to cover that puppy from beginning to end because once again, she's told some porcupines. Let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. For our photos, this picture was taken by my follower named Kirsty, and she took this photo in June in Sydney. And apparently the clouds were just catching the last of the evening sun. Just beautiful photo. Now this next photo was from my follower Sherry. She's a Canadian who married an English man, and they live in Canada, but they go to England every couple of years to visit family. So they were walking in Manchester, and she saw this house, and it was just so cute, like a little cottage out of a fairy tale. So she took the photo and she sent it to me. I have to agree, that's exactly what it looks like. And yes, I do love all things English. Okay, now I want to say something before we get into that whole article. I think Meghan Markle realizes how bad the optics are of what happened in South Africa. And now they're coming out with a story that there really was a fire in Archie's nursery, although it was a small one. Now, I don't believe this, and let me tell you why. Because they covered themselves by saying that the fire was not reported. And the reason we didn't report it is because this is going to look bad for us. It's going to look bad for Cape Town and South Africa. And so we're not going to report this. So they're trying to cover their butts by saying, this is why we didn't report it, because we didn't want you guys to look bad. What? The source of this story is anonymous. They're claiming the British police told them to leave it and don't talk about it, and that the royals could no longer live in the official residence after this happened, which confirms that this did happen in the British High Consulate home, you know, the one that she said was a housing unit. And they immediately moved out of that house. But the second place where they went to, not even 5 minutes away from the official residence, was where they were stationed. There you go. For me, that is a very poor attempt to stop the backlash, and it didn't work. It's not working. All right, now let's go on. All right, so this is the magazine article that came out called The Cut. Now, it did not escape everybody's notice that it was issued on the 25th anniversary of the death of Diana. They're trying to co-opt it. She still sees herself as Diana 2.0. We all know this already, but I just had to make sure that you guys knew that that's when they put the article out. Just so you guys are aware, it should be pointed out that this magazine has been responsible for spreading horrible rumors about Prince William. Yep. One other thing I'd like to bring up, Meghan's article, when it was originally put out, did not have the title, The Duchess of Sussex, on it. It didn't. So what do you think happened? Well, the magazine had to take their tweet down and alter it. And for those who say that didn't happen, here is the original tweet, as you can see, and here is the new tweet where Duchess of Sussex has been added. Now, just as an FYI, this is the cover of the magazine, the New York magazine. You have to flip them over to look on the back cover to see the picture of Meghan. Now, I'm not going to go through all the fluff of the article. She's in a cozy chair, and she's in a sun-dappled room, and, she's got the Soho House branded rosewater candle that the scent fills the air, mingling with the gentle tones of the flamenco-infected guitar floating from a speaker. You get my point. I'm not going to cover all that. We're simply going to do the lies, okay? So here we go. Lie number 1, she says she's getting back on Instagram, that she's been off. She also, as we know, she and Harry in the past have said that they were not on the internet. But of course, we also know that that's not true. It came out in the book Revenge that the two of them were constantly going through and demanding things be removed from the staff if there was anything that they didn't like, number one. Number two, Harry gave an interview at which time he claimed that he tried to reach out to Jack, the head of Twitter, to let him know that Twitter was being used as a staging point for the assault on the Capitol. If he was not on the internet, how would he know that? She perpetuates the whole, I was a prisoner in the palace thing, I gave up my passport, even though she took 4 vacations in 11 days and used private jets to do so. As a matter of fact, I think we once before have mapped out all of the vacations that she took while she was supposedly being held prisoner, the way she puts it. Let's move on now to lie number 3. She then said that she would have to give a photo of her child to Kensington Royal, and that you have to give them to the Royal Rota, and the photos would be on media outlets before she could post them herself. And then she said, why would I give the very people that are calling my children the N-word a photo of my child before I can share it with people that I love? You tell me how that makes sense, and then I'll play the game. Problem is, there's not one example anywhere of anybody calling her children the N-word. And just like with the Oprah interview, no receipts, no proof. She's just regurgitating the same allegations. She's just, making it a little worse. All right, here we go. Lie number 4. She and Harry opened up Sussex Royal, and then when they were told that they could not use the word royal in their branding, she said flat out in the interview that they shut it down. But as you can see from looking above, it was not shut down. It's still going. They still get tagged in the photos. Nacho went to play polo and he tagged Sussex Royal in the photos. So they're on the website. So no, that's a lie. It's not been shut down. All right, here we go with lie number 5. Harry and Meghan said that they had a year of clandestine conversations with the 1,200-year-old institution, during which time the couple asked for help in relieving Meghan's declining mental health. And when those talks went nowhere, and there were even more conversations with a network of rich and powerful friends that led to their escape for a 6-week holiday, that's when they decided to step back. So now they're claiming that they both spoke with the institution and tried to get help for Meghan. That is completely different from what they said on the Oprah interview. May I remind you that Meghan, who had a hand-picked medical team, she didn't speak to them. Her mother, who was a therapist, she didn't speak to them. She didn't go to anybody, she claims, but somebody in HR who she's never been able to name, and they've never found anybody in HR that said that they spoke with her. And she said that they turned her away, and she went to Harry. And Harry, if you'll recall, said that he didn't speak to anybody because he just didn't know what to do with that information. He was in a dark place himself. So now that story has completely changed. The next thing that was talked about was the actual Oprah interview. And while she dropped all those bombshells in the Oprah interview, she still has not styled back on anything that she said, even though a large portion of it was already proven to be a lie. She is still running with the narrative. Somebody was talking about the color of her baby's skin, even though Harry contradicted that in the Oprah interview. That it was Kate who made her cry over the flower girl dresses, not the other way around. And that the firm was doing leaks and relocations and racism against the babies, etc., etc., most of which we've already debunked and proven to be a lie. The next lie that came out is when they were asked if they were filming a documentary about, or a reality show about their lives. And in statements made to everybody, they said, absolutely not, they're not doing that. But now she's changed it, saying that there's a difference between a historical documentary and a reality docuseries. So basically, when they said that they weren't doing a fly-on-the-wall documentary, they lied. The next lie is when Meghan said that they went back for the Platinum Jubilee, and while they were there, Meghan slipped back into their former residence to pack up their belongings because she said the cottage is still theirs and has remained untouched since they left. Really? Eugenie and Jack were living there for a while, so that's another lie and untrue. All right, this next one I absolutely do not believe. Meghan's claim is that when she and Harry blew off the military thing to go to the Lion King, remember, we caught Harry on camera trying to get her voiceover work. She said that a member of the show walked up to her and basically said to her that they regarded her entry into the royal family with the same significance as the freeing of Nelson Mandela. No, I'm not kidding. And for those who didn't catch it, she essentially has likened being married and walking into palaces and all that wealth to Nelson Mandela's freedom from a prison cell after 27 years. Yep, she did. And let me just say that here comes the backlash from Nelson Mandela's family. Nelson Mandela's grandson slammed Meghan Markle for suggesting that South Africans celebrated her wedding the same way they celebrated for his grandfather's freedom. Yep. All right, the next story is that Archie, who is now 3, goes to preschool half a day. Let's not forget, however, that a year ago, when he was just 2, she claimed he was in preschool at that point as well. American schools do not do preschool at the age of 2. There's daycare, but there is not preschool. Let me just let you know that right now. I don't know anybody that gives a 3-year-old a quesadilla to eat in the back of a car. Maybe because she has staff to clean it up. Could you guys imagine? The next thing that Meghan says is if Archie was in school in the UK, she'd never be able to drop off and pick up without it being a royal photo call with a press pen of 40 people. Now, of course, we all know that that is incorrect. The only time that cameras are allowed for school runs is on the first day of school. There are only 2 cameras permitted, one for TV and one for photo, and they agreed to share the footage with other broadcasters and publications. That is how Kate and William are able to come and go with their children without the photographers, and she would have known that. See, these are the lies that she tells that I think in her brain she sees herself as so much more important than everybody else in the family that somehow the rules wouldn't apply to her or her kids. Very odd. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a piece unless Harry did a small little walk-on part and took a swipe at his family, which he did. First, he said that many of his family aren't able to work and live together. That was kind of a nasty thing to say. Now, according to Meghan, Harry said the following to her. I lost my dad in this process. It doesn't have to be the same for them as it was for me, but that's his decision. That statement by Meghan, who supposedly claims that her privacy is constantly being invaded, that she would take something that Harry told her that's supposed to be so private and put it in the media, yeah, and now that's caused a problem. Because Meghan, who doesn't use the media, is now using Omid Scobie, who told a UK court he doesn't cooperate with Meghan Markle, to clarify an alleged misunderstanding in the muddled, badly written, mistake-riddled Markle PR piece, which is true. Richard Eden even pointed out that the misleading claims made by Meghan are very worrying because Omid Scobie is tweeting one of them. He started retweeting these claims. Now you have to remember that Harry and Meghan are fighting misinformation online, and yet they seem to be the king and queen of misinformation, and Omid is putting that misinformation out. He retweeted her claim about somebody calling her children the N-word, even though there's no proof that that ever actually happened. He retweeted what she said about forgiveness between her and her royal in-laws. And then he's trying to help correct a problem. He writes, there seems to be some confusion in the headlines about this quote in the CUT interview. I understand Prince Harry is actually referring to Meghan's loss of her own father, and Meghan is saying she doesn't want Harry to lose his. What? Well, as this lovely Twitter user wrote, what was said was confirmed with 2 veteran copy editors. So unless there's an audio to clear up the problem, you can't dial back on what was said. You said it, and now it's out there. Unfortunately, that is what she said. So now Oman is trying to backtrack and fix what she said, because I think they realize they put a foot wrong. If he's already lost Charles, then they don't need anything else from Charles. You know what I'm saying? So what I think is she spun another lie, but this time the lie was going to come back to bite her in the rear end. And therefore, they immediately tried to retract what this woman wrote in the article. Interesting. Now, another thing that they said before was that the renovations and other things they were doing in the UK were part of an abusive press coverage. So they just figured if they were no longer taxpayer funded, if they could just remove that, then they could still work on their own, still be part of the monarchy and make their own money, which is another way of saying that they wanted to be they wanted, the Sussex royal, they wanted to take the monarchy and they wanted to monetize it. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted. And she says, we weren't reinventing the wheel. And she said she listed a handful of princes and princesses and dukes who have the very arrangement that they wanted. And that for whatever reason, that's not something we were allowed to do, although several other members of the family do the exact thing. Okay. That's a lie. There are no other members of the royal family who monetize their Duke and Duchess titles, who monetize their Prince and Princess titles and try to sell, Sussex Royal towels, Sussex Royal pencils. So that's what she wanted to do. And no, there is nobody else who does that. Now, I would like to say that I also think that in some ways she sent a veiled threat to the royal family, where she wrote, she breathes in and smiles and breathes out and says, I have a lot to say until I don't. Do you like that? Sometimes, as they say, the silent part is still part of the song. I think that's a veiled threat. I also found this statement to be a veiled threat. It's interesting. I've never had to sign anything that restricts me from talking. I can make the choice to talk about my whole experience or make the choice not to. Yeah, that tells me that that is a threat directed towards the royal family. In the end, all this was another puff piece where she took another swipe at the royal family and the UK. That's all she does. Hit out at the UK, complain about the family. Hit out at the UK, complain about the family. She's done it over and over again. She's been out of the family longer than she was in the family. It's like, get a grip on yourself. Find something else. All right, here's my thought process. She's jealous of Catherine and William. She's obsessed with the royal family. She cannot stop talking about them. She could have done that interview and she could have talked about what office she wants to run for, how she fell in love with Harry. There's so many topics she could have covered. And instead she keeps covering the same topic over and over, which is the family was unfair to me. The family was unfair to me. The family was unfair for, she's a broken record. She makes the same claims over and over. She never has receipts for anything. She never has any proof of anything. She just wants you to take her at face value. And since we already know that she's a liar and she's been caught dead to rights as a liar, nobody's taking this in. Nobody's listening anymore. Now, I have to tell you, I have to be honest, I think she's pathological. And the reason I'm saying that is she keeps telling the same stories over and over and over again. And I think somewhere in her brain, she might starting to believe her own lies, just like the lie about the car and the doors didn't work. And she told the exact same story the exact same way over and over. And her family actually came out and said, no, the car worked just fine. We bought it for her. The doors worked. That's not true. Same thing. But I think she thinks if she says it enough, people will believe her. And she begins to, believe her own lies. This article from the New York Post, this piece right here says it the best. It says her latest interview makes one thing clear. She has nothing to say, nothing to offer, no original thoughts, no guiding philosophy, no earthly reason to be taking so much money from and on so much space in the mainstream media that she reviles. She reviles the British royal family, even as she clings to the title and takes money from her father-in-law, the future king, who subsidized her and Harry's mansion, which was purchased for their privacy. And yet again, and they call her the Greta Garbo of Northern California, they said, forget the people's princess. We're saddled with the petulant princess whose preferred crown is perpetual victimhood. And for the past 3 years, she's had a global platform, and all she's done is complain that she's been censored, silenced, shut out. Meghan Markle has been a public downer longer than she was a working duchess. It's long past time for a new talking point. And that is exactly my point. Spot on. Well, now the articles are coming out that the British family has had a meeting and that they feel that the family needs to intervene. Here's my thought process. Nothing will happen while the Queen is alive. I think as soon as the Queen passes away, Charles and William are going to take action. I absolutely believe that. Her time is limited. The Queen is weaker and weaker. Things aren't looking so well for her. And I think Meghan knows it. She's circling the drain. And so she's trying to get whatever she wants to say out there as quickly as possible. Now, with all that being said, we know that Meghan only wears hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry and $18,000 outfits, and she's going to try to change that narrative to make it look like she's just one of the people. And that's why you saw this little bit about she reaches into a trunk and produces a brand new black backpack and hands it to security to give to the unhoused man on the corner, because they're teaching Archie that some people live in big houses, some people live in small houses, and some are in between homes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So she has security hand over a backpack. Yeah, I would have expected maybe she and Harry to finance, housing, to make a real change. And that's what this is about. She went back to Frogmore and she has $30 pants from Bowden. When have you guys ever seen her in pants that cost $30? Anything that costs $30. Exactly. So at this point, I simply have to say that I agree with Sunshine host Miss Barb. Meghan's a tosser. Now, if anybody really is concerned about Meghan Markle's mental status, I think this from the article really shows it. She actually made guttural noises and asked the reporter to try to articulate what she's feeling. And even the reporter says, I can't do it. She's just moaning. Yep. Now, I have to tell you, Dan Wooten did a little bit on Good Morning Britain News, and he even called Harry gutless for allowing Meghan to continue to attack his family, and said that there's really no hope for Harry at this point unless he sticks his head out of the sand and up this rabbit hole that he's dug himself into. The people on the Bold report said Harry needs to have a serious talk with himself. Let me tell you guys something, and I'm sure you guys know this, but Harry is mentally ill. He's got serious psychological problems. He's a wimp. Meghan runs the show. He's not going to say anything to her. He's just going to let her run amok. And in the end, he probably will lose his dad if he hasn't already, because it's being reported that Charles was gutted when he heard what Meghan said. All right, you guys, I really want your thought process on this mess. I mean, I'm hoping at this point that the royal family takes some legal action and gets them for libel and warns them that if they continue to tell these lies, that something legal could happen. And I honestly do believe as well that as soon as the Queen passes away, the royal family is going to swoop in on them. That's my honest thought process. So, all right, leave those thoughts below. Let me start off by saying thank you to everybody who is supporting my channel, donating to the thanks button and donating to the coffee fund. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when I upload videos. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter, Getter, Rumble. You can email me. And of course, you guys, as always, have a great day.